We gonna play the game, the PlayStation all day with Metal Gear Solid to Tekken 3 and from Omega Boost to Resident Evil. Just play for the fun, cause we got it going on.
Hello everybody and welcome. Today I'm going to do a video that's sort of a follow-up to one that I did quite a while ago where I discussed AAA games, video games that is, and how I personally feel that it's sort of destroying the industry as a whole because basically these larger game companies are more often than not basically making the same games over and over and over and over, and it gets really frustrating obviously for us gamers because we don't want to see the same thing over and over. We want to see some innovation, some new ideas, something or other. Obviously, since games are very expensive to make, especially if you want those really big fancy graphics and all this kind of stuff, we have to turn to other sources of games, and in this case, indie games. So what I'm going to do today is sort of the start of a sort of mini-series where I'm going to discuss essentially my favorite genres of video games, and particularly talking about computer games. Recently, the Steam Summer Sale ended, so I'm very excited that I went and I got all sorts of games that I used to play when I was a kid, plus a bunch of new games in various categories. And what I'm going to do is just talk about several different genres over the course of time. I'm not certain exactly how long it's going to take, but this is the first installment, and this particular one is going to be all about roguelike games. So the first thing that I wanted to discuss is essentially what is a roguelike game. It's something that many of you have probably heard of before, some of you probably haven't, but basically it means that you have a game similar to the 1980s ASCII game Rogue. It was actually released in 1980, the 1980 exactly, and it was, like I said, an ASCII-based game that involved several key features where you had randomly generated dungeons, you had permanent death, which is very important, and a very distinct fantasy setting. So you're talking about wizards and dragons and things of that nature. Okay, very sort of stereotypical fantasy style games. And nowadays we have these so-called roguelike games which behave in a similar way. We also have games that are called roguelite, which means that they have some of the aspects of the original Rogue game, but not so much that they're very similar. And the idea behind any game like this is that you are essentially trying to beat yourself every single time you play. Because of the aspect of permanent death, you lose progress that you have. Typically, it depends on the type of game, and all three of the games I'm going to be discussing actually don't do that. You don't permanently lose all progress. Right? But that being said, I've got three games that I'm going to be discussing, all of which are available on Steam, and are all of which are really fun to play, at least in my opinion. And I'm going to start off with Piracy. So first up is Piracy. This is a game that is currently in beta as of right now when I'm making this video, but the vast majority of the work is done. It is a fully functional game, and you can get a lot of cool stuff out of it. It's a really simple game. It is all sprite graphics, which I think is kind of cool. It's pretty fun, and it's a neat little game where you essentially get to do what you would expect as a pirate. You go and you recruit a crew, and you go and you attack people, and if you really want to, you can steal their ships. You can also upgrade your ship. You can get more cannons. You can get just a fully larger ship. You can build it up from, well, the water up, not necessarily ground up. And a big idea behind it is exploration and the randomness of what you can find, which is one of the biggest aspects of the roguelike genre. As far as several of the other ones, though, there are things like it does have autosave, at least on one of the modes. One of the modes, hardcore mode, I believe it's called, you actually don't have anything that helps you. You have no safety net, and it is completely roguelike, where if you lose, you permanently lose. The other mode, which is called princess mode, actually saves every time you leave an island or a city or whatever it happens to be, so you can reload your save, and it essentially encourages you to save scum in a certain way. And basically save scumming is sort of cheating the roguelike system, where you make a backup of a save game. That normally the roguelike save is you save your progress in a specific instance, I guess you could say, and then once you lose that instance, then the save is gone. But the idea of save scumming is you back up that save, so it's like, oh dang, I lost, and then you reload the or you put back the backup save, and now you can restart from that original save. Okay, it's a practice that's generally frowned upon, but basically Pixel Piracy has it integrated into the game in the princess mode. Okay, that said, it's a fun game even when you start up. You actually essentially create the world that you're going to be playing in. It asks you several questions as far as your character's background, and it basically fits fits the world to your answers. So, for example, you can say that recently there have been surges of monsters, and you end up having to fight more bad guys on the islands. You can say that your dad was an alcoholic, and he joins your crew, and he's drunk all the time and all this kind of stuff. So it's a really fun game. There's a lot of variety with not only the characters, but with what you can do and the bad guys that you can attack. For example, the crew members all have different traits. You can have crew members that are fiercely loyal. You can have some that are treacherous and will end up attacking you while you're going about your business and doing your pirate thing. Obviously, since it is a pirate game, that really fits with the overall theme, in that you probably would expect some mutiny. And certainly your crew can be unhappy, they can have low morale, so you have to keep them happy, all of this kind of stuff. You have to keep them fed and yada yada yada. And that said, there are a lot of little nuanced mechanics like that, and incidentally, one of the mechanics is, yes indeed, you do have to clean the poop off of the ship. So make sure you do, because otherwise it just gets disgusting. You have to clean the poop. And the sad thing is that you actually have to learn how to clean poop, which seems a little bit odd to me personally, but that is neither here nor there. Essentially, the game overall has very good mechanics. I really enjoy playing it, but I think that some of them tried to add too much to a game that could have been a lot simpler and basically felt more pirate-y. Like, for example, like I just said, the cleaning. That just seems a little bit arbitrary to me. I don't see a point to that. Some of the other training skills certainly make sense. You can learn new attacks and things of that nature. And obviously the whole point is to become more powerful. You level up as you go. Your ship gets to increase as you buy parts for your ship, so that you can go and take on bigger and bigger bad guys. So it is definitely fun, and you see a lot of progression, but you do have the saving aspect, at least in the princess mode, so that you can come back in case you screw something up. So in that sense, not necessarily roguelike, but still a lot of fun. Really great game, and one thing that will probably annoy you is essentially all of the quips by the pirates, all of the little phrases that they say. They'll say it over and over and over and over again, and it gets fairly annoying pretty quickly. But that's just a minor complaint. Overall, the game is very, very good. It's a lot of fun, and basically just make sure that your crew is good, they have some skills, because otherwise you're going to be in trouble. Make sure you don't get a bunch of drunks. Very, very unpleasant. Incidentally, there are some people that actually poop a lot. It's actually a skill, which I think is very strange. But like I said, there are certainly some things that I don't really love about the game, but overall I really do enjoy it as a roguelike game. It's a lot of fun. It's from a really, really tiny indie developer. I think it's like 2 people who made this. It's really great. All of these games that I'm talking about are fairly small like that. But regardless, overall, very fun. You feel like a pirate. It feels like the game that you expect it to feel like. So I highly recommend Pixel Piracy. sprites. Now, moving straight along, I'm going to talk about the second favorite game that I have on this particular list of 3. The second game that I will be discussing for my roguelike rundown is FTL Faster Than Light. And this is a really, really fun game. I was actually kind of surprised by how much fun I was having. It really reminded me a little bit of the LAN game Artemis, which is really cool, and it's sort of like full-scale Star Trek. So Artemis is really awesome, and this one, Faster Than Light, really sort of reminded me of that because you have to control power flow in your ship and all this kind of stuff. But I'll get into that a little bit later on. Essentially, FTL Faster Than Light, the actual name refers to the drive on the ship. And it's called the FTL drive, the Faster Than Light drive. That's how you get around. The idea behind the game is that you are a lone vessel who has to go and warn the Federation of the incoming rebellion. And the whole point is that you're essentially just barely steps ahead of the rebellion fleet, and they're coming to get you, and it's really bad, and you have to go and try. And as you're going through, you go through randomized sectors. They have random sort of points of interest that you can fly to throughout them, and the idea is that you can either attack people, you can go after like pirates, rogues, whatever you happen to run into. You can have any sort of random event ranging from just scanning a planet to you have some people who are stuck in an asteroid, all sorts of crazy stuff. Lots and lots of random events. It's really cool. Sort of keeps the game fresh, at least in that sense. But the biggest point of this is you're going through a total of 8 sectors, and at the very end you fight the rebel flagship, and it is extremely tough. So, oh jeez. So throughout the time that you're going through these 8 sectors, you have to upgrade your ship. There are several different ways you can do that. You can upgrade the ship itself, where you can get more energy so that you can power more weapons or more shields. You can upgrade the blast doors so that when people try to come in and try to bash the doors down, they have a much harder time doing it. All sorts of stuff like that. Or you can buy things that actually increase your abilities. So you can buy, for example, new drones that fly around and attack the bad guys for you, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. You can get new ship systems, which range anywhere from cloaking devices to the actual door system to a crew teleporter, all sorts of crazy stuff like that. And as you're going through, you have to balance between keeping your ship intact and upgrading your ship, because they both take the same resource, which is scrap. And the idea behind it is, you know, take as few hits as possible, obviously, and make certain that you upgrade your ship enough so that you have a chance against the rebel flagship. It's very, very, very difficult, which is one of the key aspects of most roguelike games, is that they are very tough. Part of the cool thing about FTL is not only the fact that you have a huge variety of different, even crew members, but weapons and everything else available, but ships as well. Not only are there multiple ships, but each ship has different configurations that you can use. It has different starting equipment, different starting technologies, all sorts of stuff like that. It's an incredibly deep game, and it's actually really surprising. Essentially, the way that you unlock a lot of this stuff is basically it says, beat the rebel flagship with this previous ship, and then you unlock this one. Or, if you get really, really lucky, you can actually unlock the ships as you're going through these different sectors by helping out the right factions. There are a bunch of different factions in the game, and most of them have some specific ship you can unlock, and if you find the right quest at the right time with the right person, then you can unlock the ship. So it's really cool, lots of fun, lots of variety, really, really fun. And one of the other things is, unlike with Pixel Piracy, which is a real-time combat system, more to the original Rogue, the 1980 Rogue, you have what can be called a turn-based combat system, in that you have a pause button. And while the game is paused, you're able to, target your weapons, you're able to move your crew around, around, all that kind of stuff. So it's turn-based in the sense that you make the turns, but it really, really helps with everything, especially because you end up having to like sync your weapons so that they all hit at once to take down multiple layers of shields, all sorts of stuff like that. It's surprisingly strategic, surprisingly deep, and just a lot of fun. I was really shocked by it because I thought that it would be a lot more like a sort of surface type game, but it's really good, and it is definitely very roguelike. The one problem that I have with it is like a true roguelike, you do have the permanent death. If your ship gets blown up, then you have to restart from the very, very beginning. And one of the problems that I have with that is getting to Sector 8, getting all the way through, can take, 2 or 2.5 hours, which can be exceedingly difficult and potentially very frustrating, especially when you know that all of these random encounters are dictating essentially what you're able to get. You might be able to go to a store that has exactly what you're looking for, or you might end up with a store that has just the armor plating, the hull repair that you need to just keep your ship going, and nothing else to really augment your actual ship. So just stuff like that makes it difficult, but again, it's a roguelike. That's the kind of thing you expect. You expect that sort of RNG-based, can I actually do this? Will I be capable of it? That said, it is nice that you can use the different ships after you unlock it. It's permanently unlocked. You don't have to like beat the quest during the section hopping, and subsequently beat the big bad guy as well in order to keep the ship. It's after you get it, so that's really nice. Same thing with the different ship configurations. After you unlock it, then it's unlocked permanently. Really, really fun. It is a game that I love to replay over and over, and mostly because the events are just so random, and you have all sorts of crazy stuff that can happen. You can have a run where you get extremely lucky, followed immediately by a run where you're very unlucky. It's just really cool, great way to spend some time, and just generally a lot of fun, and a great example of a roguelike game. FTL, Faster Than Light. Moving on to my last roguelike game for this particular one is also my personal favorite. This game is called Rogue Legacy. And there's a couple of really wonderful things I love about this. First off, we see the roguelike aspect in terms of the majesty of the fantasy that they have. You have the very stereotypical, you've got the floating bad guys, you've got the big guys in the armor, you've got ghost-looking things floating around shooting fireballs at you, all sorts of crazy stuff, and you are the valiant knight come to slay all of the bad guys. Although technically you're probably the great-grandchild of the valiant knight. And I say that because the idea behind Rogue Legacy is you are literally creating a legacy. Every single character that you play, after that character dies, you get a portrait of them hung in the gallery of sorts. So the game keeps track of every single time that you die in this game. And once you scroll through all of them, it actually makes me personally a little bit depressed, because I'm just like, wow, I'm not very good at this game. I have died a lot. But that said, the entire point of the game is that it is extremely difficult, and it is very unforgiving. And that is one of the very essences of a roguelike game. It is very hard to beat, permanent death, and I mean, essentially if you get hit once by a bad guy, it takes away nearly half of your health. So you have to be very careful, very good, very quick moving around, all that kind of stuff. That said, it's nice because similarly to Faster Than Light, you do have a standing progression system that goes from air to air to air as you go sort of down the chain of the legacy. And essentially the way that works is when you're in the castle, you collect gold, you get however much you get, and then the next person is able to spend that gold. And they can spend it on upgrades to the castle, which include unlocking new what's it called? I don't remember now. New classes. You can upgrade classes so that they can get a special ability. You can upgrade your characters to have more health, more mana, whatever it happens to be, all that kind of stuff. And you can unlock the three sort of helper people, which are the blacksmith, the enchanter, and the architect. The whole point behind the game is that you have to defeat bosses. There are several sections of the game. You have the main castle, you have the tower, the forest, and what's called the darkness, I believe is the other one. It might be the deep. But either way, those four sections are always the same in terms of their orientation to one another. So, for example, you always have the castle in the middle, the tower above it, the forest to the right side as you're looking at the map, and the deep or the darkness below it. That other than that, though, the entire thing is randomized. Again, one of the key aspects of a roguelike game. Every time you enter the castle, it has a little loading screen that says building, and it makes whatever the random design is. The first room is always the same, but that's it. Literally, that is the only thing that is identical. And each section has several mini-bosses and also several bosses. The idea is that you have to beat the bosses so that you can defeat the final boss and then win the game. And that said, it will take you a very long time because of the way the progression works with having to spend the money to gain levels and gain additional abilities and all that kind of stuff. It takes a while to actually level up enough so that you can go to some of these other sections, and you spend a lot of time in the initial castle. But that being said, it's not a bad thing. Like I said, it's a really fun game. It's a great game, but if you are frustrated easily and impatient with difficulty, this is definitely not the game for you. It is extremely roguelike in that sense, and it is very, very punishing to people who make mistakes in it, basically. But like I said, that said, it's a lot of fun, really cool. You have all sorts of different classes. You've got your very standard fantasy paladin or knight that gets upgraded to a paladin. You've got the mage. You've got the knave, which is essentially low defense and low health, but potential chance to crit, all sorts of stuff like that. But then you also have some really cool other classes, like the my personal favorite, the shinobi, which is the ninja class, quote unquote, which is extremely high damage and also very fast move speed. You can do a lot with the shinobi, awesome one-hit kills on most of the bad guys, but you are unable to crit. You also have the lich, which starts off with very low health and then actually gains maximum health as you kill bad guys. So in that sense, very, very fun. Obviously, the mage, the paladin, the barbarian is another one. They have different traits for their actual classes, but then the individual people also have their own little quirks and quibs. And the thing is that similarly to in Pixel Piracy, they actually have a fundamental effect on the game itself, typically at least. Some of them are more aesthetic, like for example, if your character is bald, then it just says like you're bald and glorious, and then when the castle is loading up, when it's building, it actually says balding instead. So, you know, just weird little stuff like that. There's one where if you have dyslexia, then you can't read things, and all of the letters are just backwards and mixed around for all of the words. Just little stuff like that. You can get things like you can't see in color, you can't see in 3D, although I have yet to figure out exactly what that does. And just all sorts of craziness like that. It's really fun. You have the really big guy that's essentially perma-roided, so they always knock enemies back. You have the really skinny guy, the ectomorph, who always gets knocked back no matter what the hit is. You have one that's afraid of chickens. Haven't really run into a chicken yet, though. Hopefully I won't. But for all that is holy, stay away from vertigo. Just don't even bother. I am showing you this for your own safety. You do not want to have to deal with this. So don't pick somebody with vertigo, please, okay? You will thank me later, okay? Also, you can just see how terrible it is. But all of the little traits, like I said, just cool little things, and it explains on the air selection screen, your legacy selection, what the individual traits do, at least to a certain extent, if they have a real effect. But, I mean, the progression system is really cool. The blacksmith can create new armor and weapons for you. The enchantress will give you runes that give you additional powers to your equipment, your armor, weapons, and cape, all that kind of stuff. But you do have to find them, and they can be very, very frustrating to find. And then you have the architect, which is mostly there so that you can practice defeating bosses. The idea is that if you give him a fair percentage of the gold that you find, then the castle will stay the same. So you know what room goes to what, and you can. And if you find a boss room, then you can say, "All right, now I know where the boss is, so I can go straight there, so I can practice taking him down." Stuff like that, which is very helpful. And on that note, something I forgot to mention: with the money, you always want to spend as much money as possible, because when you enter the castle, the guide. I guess it's Charon. They're going by the guy on the river Styx, basically, the boatman, and he takes all of your gold before you can enter the house, so that way you can't accumulate it too easily. There are skills that let you keep, 10, 20, 30%. They're very expensive, obviously, but they'll help you in the end because you can keep at least some of it. But overall, Rogue Legacy, very, very fun. Great game, really cool overall. Just a fun way to spend some time. It's really nice because, at least for me personally, I think the longest time that I had was right about 15 or 20 minutes. So definitely not very long. So if you just need something really quick to play, then certainly Rogue Legacy is something to consider, especially if you don't really care about having an extremely long legacy before you make some real progress in the game. So with that, that's the last roguelike game that I wanted to go over for you guys. And I'll go ahead and just give some final thoughts and a brief summary now. So that's it for me, everybody. Thank you very much for watching my little mini review, I guess you could say, on 3 of my new favorite roguelike games, Pixel Piracy, FTL Faster Than Light, and Rogue Legacy. Like I said, I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like and subscribe to my channel to see more videos like it, as well as other videos on different video game categories, board gaming, science rants, all sorts of crazy stuff. I do lots of different videos on various subjects. If you know any other games or just have comments on the games that I talked about, please be sure to leave them below. Leave me your thoughts, leave me whatever you feel like you want to tell me. Just say so in the comments. And I will, like I said, I will continue on with this with another genre later on. Not exactly certain when I'm going to be doing it, but relatively soon at least. And it's going to be another one of my old, very, very favorite genres that I even played when I was a kid. So with that, thank you very much again for watching, and I will see you next time. Thank you again for watching my video on some of my favorite roguelike games. If there are any others that you want to tell me about, or you just want to discuss some of the things that I mentioned, please feel free to leave any and all of it in the comments. In addition, you can see some of my latest videos up at the top of the page, ranging from science to board games, and a lot of stuff in between. In addition, if you want to see more of me, go ahead and click the big giant subscribe button, and with that, I will see you next time.